Yeah. Welcome.
All right.
Hey everyone, welcome to the beginning, I guess. This is sort of the beginning of season 2 for the Housecast live stream series. And of course, as I've been talking about, got Lage Lund here, Gilad Hekselman, near Felder, all good friends, and we're here to hang and just talk about some music and talk about guitar. And now that things are sort of kind of opening up, getting back to some realm of normalcy, we're all getting together again. So anyway, welcome and thank you for being here. Sorry for the delay, but yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get started. No, yeah, man. So, dude, I've seen you a lot, and I've seen you a couple of times, but I feel like I haven't seen you in like almost 2 years for sure, but maybe
I'm not
longer
sure what
than that.
happened, but yeah, it's been a while.
Man. So how's everything, man? What were you doing? How's the COVID?
The
experience?
COVID's been great. No, it's yeah, it was. So we moved to Norway. Like my wife and our kids moved to Norway, like basically January 2020. Yeah, right. And then yeah, we're there for 2 months, and then COVID happened. So yeah, it still kind of feels like we just got there because everything was just kind of on hold.
Right.
Till
But that was like pre. You guys did. This was before people knew that COVID was coming out, right? This
No, I had a sense.
Oh, okay.
No, no, I didn't. But no, this was you know, it wasn't. We didn't move there because of that.
Right,
we had
right.
planned to move anyway.
Yeah, I feel like you and Gilad kind of like just coincidentally happened to.
Oh yeah, because you did that year
Sabbatical.
sabbatical. Yeah.
You guys got lucky, man.
Yeah, we kind of did. Yeah, we left in September, right before, like 3 months before.
Yeah.
Like you left, and yeah, we enjoyed the last bit of the world being like not crazy, like being able to travel pretty freely. So that was
Right.
nice.
Yeah.
Where were you guys when it started shutting down?
That was the end of our trip to the Southeast Asia. So we were in Thailand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thailand and also you guys went to Vietnam or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, but when the news started talking about it, like a new virus,
Mm-hmm.
I was on the beach in Koh Samui, and I didn't make much of it, but I was swimming with my son in the ocean, and
Right.
We saw a dude on a surfboard, and we kind of hung out and stuff, and then he was he was from China. He was like, "Oh yeah, we're from Wuhan." Then his daughter said like, "No, don't say that. That's not true."
Right.
But I didn't understand the joke at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
And later on, I did.
Guy was a pioneer of comedy, man.
Yeah.
Comedy.
But yeah, that was the very last part.
And you were here. We kind of saw each other a couple times.
Yeah,
during
we
lockdown.
hung out a little bit.
Yeah.
I was on the road when we got sent home. I think were you on the road?
I
too?
was in Italy when it hit Italy.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, shit.
But I was there like at the end of a tour. I went to Italy just to hang with this wine producer Radicon. So I went there for like 3 days, and as soon as I landed, like it was all over the news. Like it just was getting bad in Italy. I was
When
like,
is this?
You gotta be kidding me. This was like February of 2020.
Like 8th, 9th of February or something.
No, it was around the 22nd, somewhere around there.
Gotcha.
Because I had toured and I went to China, I went to Korea, I went to Spain, and it was kind of like following me. Like,
Maybe it's all your
at the
fault,
news,
man.
Or the other way around.
yeah, I think I spread it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the South Park episode where like the one guy like anyway, never mind. But yeah, it's quite possible that I brought it and spread it around to the world. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Yeah. You know,
Comes out
I'm
on
trying
live
to-
stream.
you know, I'm trying to make an impact. You know? No, but yeah, it was crazy. I was like, well, at least I'm gonna go to Italy. I'm gonna have a great time after this tour because we're all a little bit nervous on that very last tour. Like, you know, if anybody sneezed or anything, people kind of like start looking at you. And so that at the end of that tour, I was like, man, I'm going to Italy. Like, that's the last place on earth it'll be, you know, kind of thing. And as soon as I landed, I was like having lunch with a friend, and I saw it on the news. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. It's like, you know, anyway. But yeah, but the beginning of 2020, like January and February, were like pretty much like all touring, and then it did stop. which yeah, it's crazy. But
Right.
I'm sure the same for you cats.
Not for me. I did not play a gig.
Oh, because you were taking time
For
off.
3 months.
But that was by choice.
I actually
Yeah,
took
but-
January and February off too.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
remember we
and
talked about that.
Yeah, that's when you were on the road and I went on the road in March. I was like, okay, I'm ready to get back. And we made it like 1 week into a 3-week tour.
Yeah.
And then we got sent home. Which is
Right.
Well, here we are, man.
interesting.
And everybody's been
Yeah.
back out since
Yeah.
it started, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this fall has kind of been back to normal.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, September was busy.
Yeah.
October. But yeah, now it's like on top of all the other stuff we have to deal with as guitar players traveling
Yeah.
with like instruments and like or just as a musician in general. Like now we have to deal with like all the COVID restrictions. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a whole nother level of added on to the traveling thing.
But do you feel like maybe that made the other shit somewhat easier, like the instrument and stuff? Like I haven't gotten any trouble for guitar
Oh,
at all since.
Man, I got well, Norwegian Airways.
Oh yeah, Norwegian. You always buy the best seat for Norwegian.
Yeah, yeah. So and I told someone about that, but it was ignored.
No, actually, that's a terrible airline. So don't. Yeah.
Come on, man! You gotta you're
SAS.
as
If
an
you're gonna go- if
ambassador,
you're gonna
as
do
a
a
guitar
Scandinavian
ambassador
air-
of Norway, you have to make some changes, bro. You
Well-
have to get in touch with somebody.
I can get you in touch with like Calton cases. So.
Yeah, no, actually, I have a Carlton case,
I
and,
needed.
and I still take it on. But anyway, I got it on every flight. So, but there was 2 airlines that really tried to stop it. But
Right.
I
Norwegian
guess.
was one of them.
And Ryanair was the other one.
No. I mean, no Ryanair flights. Thank God.
Yeah.
It was I can't remember what the other airline was, but
But
it was-
Norwegian basically is Ryanair. It's a budget airline. So,
Really?
Yeah. It's yeah.
that's the one thing in Norway that's on a budget.
Uh,
Why is it so expensive?
Is it? But it's cheap, isn't it?
No, I mean like the
Oh,
country.
the country.
Yeah.
Well,
How much is that jacket, man?
this jacket, it just sent to me from the Minister of Culture and
Minister
Yeah.
of Dressing.
Yeah, and
Fashion.
it had like vials of crude oil in it. Yeah. Yeah, no, Norwegian.
Yeah.
It's a bad airline. Yeah. Good country, bad airline.
Yeah.
That's
It-
my
it just-
stance on that.
It was unexpected. I've heard the rumors, but I finally got to experience it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's lucky that was your first Norwegian flight. I've flown a few.
Yeah.
I mean, the planes are nice. They're the new whatever's the new nice
The
planes.
Dreamliner, right?
Yeah, Dreamliner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So any guitar players listening, because we all get this question all the time.
Don't tell
The-
them.
the-
Don't tell them. The trick. The trick.
No. I'm talking about the airlines. It's like, I guess Norwegian is one that always comes up. Qantas Airlines.
Qantas, but you know they had a whole thing. You know Jamie Allers, the saxophone player
Yeah.
No.
in Australia. He had a whole thing with them where like he basically did like they banned them. Like all the musicians wouldn't fly them, and then there was negotiation, and eventually they negotiated that you can take your instrument on the airplane.
That's so
Man,
badass.
the only 2 times I've ever checked my guitar were both in Australia on
Oh,
Qantas Airlines.
So maybe they changed sense. But like I remember
Yeah.
one time actually they tried to do it to me, and then I asked them because Jamie just told me about it. So I was like, "You know who Jamie Allers is?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." Yeah,
And
yeah.
Kath,
Yeah.
Oh, you're cool.
Right.
No, Jamie. All right, go.
the Hong Kong airline, Cathay or whatever it's called.
Oh
Cathay
yeah.
Pacific.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one guy that actually, I tried all of my tricks,
Oh.
and the guy, like, called my bluff. I was like, cool, I'll book another flight. I was like, but I need my bags off the plane. And I was, like, the plane was going to leave in, like, 15 minutes. And I was like, so I'll take another flight, but you have to give me my bags. He was like, yeah, no problem. And he calls somebody, he was like, he was like, 5 minutes, they'll have your bags.
Ooh.
And I was like, and they wrapped it in all this shit, man. They wrapped
took
like,
care of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then after that, it was cool. But that was 3 times. So 3
Wow.
times I've checked my guitar
I've gone.
in 16 years.
I've been cool with Qantas and Cathay. I think the what's the Eastern European one? Like if you're in like Estonia or something, Air Baltic.
Oh,
That's-
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough for guitars. Yeah, very rough.
But anyway, yeah, Carlton cases or something like that works.
Yeah,
works
I'm
great.
open for endorsements. If you're listening.
Yeah, I mean, so now some airlines I just check it. I gate check it.
That's cool.
I just don't want to deal with it
I need
anymore.
to get a Carlton.
Yeah. Anyway, so
soft case all the way.
We talked about Norway a little bit. Tell us about Israel, man. Like, what is... People always ask me, like, what's in the water in Houston?
Right.
And I say sugar. But, what's going on in Israel? That there's so many great guitar players coming out of there. But
so I also get asked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My theory, I mean, it's just a theory, but...
I guess there's oil in the water and all that.
It's salmon.
Salmon,
Which is like oil that can swim. Yeah. Also lucrative.
Yeah.
No, I think it's just a good, like, just like you guys, it's a good, there's a few good schools.
Yeah.
I think.
But there's one guy that everyone sort of studied with, right? Like.
There's a few. There was a guy who passed away a few years ago, Amit Golan, and he was kind of like, he lived in New York for a while. He was at New School together with like Brad and Larry Goldings and Pete Bernstein. But yeah, he when I went to high school there, he was teaching, and he just came back from New York, and he was kind of bringing that vibe to Israel, which was nice. And he was, really insisting on us, like, getting into checking out the past and doing our homework in that sense, which was cool. And I was at first resistant to it because I was like Chick Corea, and I was like,
right.
really into modern stuff.
I feel like it's funny, like the younger guys I'm meeting from Israel that play guitar are really into the old thing, and they know like every standard that has like diatonic harmony and like goes to the four chord and the bridge. They know all those tunes, but no Chick Corea, no Herbie, no Wayne, nothing like that.
So yeah, that kind of became me eventually. Like I still feel like my repertoire of that kind of standards is much stronger than any of the Wayne or Herbie repertoire. Like those I learn and then I forget, but the more conventional harmony ones I remember forever. Like I'll never forget them. So.
It's funny. It's like in Houston, it was all the other stuff, and nobody was playing like the real standards. Like, and it's like, but there's a lot of stuff that slips through the cracks when you don't check out like the real diatonic kind of like not modal tunes. Right. But I noticed that like guys from Israel have the traditional thing down. Like they could all play changes.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on that over there. Yeah. Like it's considered like a thing you have to do to kind of move forward.
Yeah.
Which was healthy for me, I think. It's a good thing to get, because otherwise I would just keep playing fusion. When I started studying jazz, like when going to high school, I didn't know anything about jazz. Like I didn't know about Louis Armstrong or
me neither.
Miles Davis totally or any of those guys. So I'm glad that teacher was there for sure. And I think that the teachers there now, they're trying to continue that tradition.
But you were coming from a rock background.
Yeah, totally. You said
me too.
A rock.
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
I was into like classic rock and blues. I didn't. Okay. I still like. I was telling Gilad, like I was at this bookstore the other day and I saw this Guthrie Govan book and I was like, I need to get this because like one thing I never learned how to do was like shred in like a rock way, and I'm like curious. I don't get it, but blues and classic rock, that was like my education. I
used to be able to kind of play stuff that I was learning from records, but I didn't understand where any of it was coming from, like that kind of like shredding like rock stuff. But
you liked Eddie Van Halen, right?
Yeah, but I didn't. Yeah, but like it's so far blurred in the past that I couldn't repeat any of that stuff today. It's like it's almost like I had to make it disappear in order to play the guitar in a different way. But what was your thing like?
I think when I first kind of really got into playing in bands and stuff, like 13, I guess, it was all like sort of like skate punk stuff, like Southern
skate
California.
Punk?
Yeah, like
Sick.
whatever was in the skateboard movies, because that was what I was interested in. So it was just like I like that music. So it would be like bands like Dinosaur Jr., like Minor Threat, Descendants, all the big ones.
Wow, I never heard of any of
yeah,
the big ones, the big four.
Yeah, and then that kind of morphed into.
Did you skate? You were skating?
Yeah, like
I
as
used
a
to
kid.
skate too. What was it? Yeah. What was the moment where you decided you were just like, I can't do this shit anymore?
Well, the reason I kind of started playing guitar because it was just like the winters, like we would have to like see it, like in like parking garages and stuff, and we didn't have a good skate park, and it was just like it kind of sucks. I was like, I need to
play guitar.
Yeah, and we had guitars around the house because my dad plays guitar.
Okay.
And
Is he a professional musician?
no, he just always had like a guitar. He was always like a big blues guy, you know. So I was like, okay, and some of my friends in high school started like bands and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll do that, I guess. But yeah, it started with that kind of music, and then that morphed into more like metal stuff, you know, like Pantera and Sepultura.
Yeah.
Before I played guitar, but yeah.
Before you play, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was into, all that stuff like Metallica, Megadeth,
Yep.
Iron Maiden,
Yep.
and then I was
Not
skating.
Iron
I was
Maiden.
skating. And, no, I love Iron Maiden, man. That's like really.
Are you still
that was my-
into any of them?
Yeah, I can still listen to all that stuff, and I like
Yeah.
it just as much as anything
Man.
else I listen
So
to.
I used to love Metallica, but I can't listen.
But
It's a
Metallica
little-
is not something I listen to much, but I can listen to Megadeth. To me, is like it's like the highest level fucking
Oh yeah.
metal band
Hmm.
for me. Like,
Yeah.
and you know, Metallica is like a little bit more kind of accepting, are
It's just a little
acceptable. Like,
dated, right? It's a little like.
Yeah, it's just I was the other day I was
I love the dating thing. I like, how is that dated? But then it's not dated to listen to Charlie Parker or something like that.
But it's I don't know.
I don't. To me, it's the same. It's like it was so good that
Yeah.
it is dated, or it does define. It's dated to an
Well-
era, but the era is so good.
well, I guess it's dated because one of them sounds great to me after all these years, and the other one doesn't.
And the other one
Right.
doesn't. So then,
right. Yeah.
but yeah, in that sense, like whatever you're not into anymore, sort of sounds.
Yeah, totally.
You're
It
just
doesn't-
like that. It's like me with fusion. Like I can't really listen to fusion
Right.
because to me that's dated.
Yeah.
But it's because I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I like
Exactly.
the other stuff.
Exactly.
So then, yeah, but I feel like some people they love dated stuff, or to them it's not dated because it's so
Yeah.
they like it so much.
Yeah. Well,
So-
nostalgia takes such a big part of it too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's
what
why I
we're
was
doing-
so surprised that I didn't like Metallica at all. Like I was like, oh, this is terrible. I was
Yeah.
gonna listen to
I
it.
haven't even heard. Yeah.
No, man, that old stuff I can still listen to and think it's great.
I feel like I can maybe still like Injustice for All or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That
But,
wasn't
like,
my album. That was
that
the
was-
one album I couldn't.
You couldn't know really?
Really?
But I love Black Album and really Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning.
Oh, okay.
I still think those are killing.
Master of
Yeah.
Puppets is crazy.
It's crazy. But did you guys find those through MTV? Was MTV a part
MTV
of
was
the thing?
huge. I
Huge
was just
for me.
talking to
Yes.
somebody about this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess a little bit, but mostly friends.
Okay.
You know, like,
yeah,
It was
MTV,
cool.
and then going to the record stores and
Mhm.
like being.
Right.
At first, it was like this album cover is so amazing.
What's the cover?
The album cover for Master of Puppets
What
or
do you
something
see
like
there?
that
What-
is it's like the crosses that and then there's like
Right.
two hands holding strings like
Oh,
Master of Puppets kind of.
all the covers kind of look like the covers to like a Stephen King movie, basically.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like,
exactly. Yeah,
is that a
they
Stephen
look like
King movie
novel
or-
covers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I used to buy records just based off the covers if I knew the band.
Oh, really?
If I knew the
Oh, yeah.
band, yeah. Not if it was a band I never heard of.
Yeah, I
I might
guess I
say
remember
that's
that
a
too.
cool cover.
What's the band Manowar? Was that a
Oh,
band?
Manowar was
Yeah.
like.
I remember like
Oh,
because they had the flat of the bumblebee. You remember that shred?
Oh, God.
I don't remember that one, but they were
shredded.
they were like corny metal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And I remember
Like
hearing
super
that too in
metal.
Israel, going to the CD store and like, whoa, this is great.
Right.
Yeah, it's like perfect for a 10-year-old.
so then what was the point where I was gonna? I mean, this is coming. Like I remember when I decided I wasn't gonna skate anymore and I was just gonna concentrate on guitar.
Oh, right.
That's when I did this. I tried to do a kick flip
Uh-huh.
and the skateboard went totally horizontal and I landed
Oh.
like this.
Right.
And I think immediately I was like
I'm
hanging on
gonna play
to.
jazz now.
I hung on to a fence and I was
Now
like,
I like jazz.
I think I'm gonna not do this again, and I'm just gonna try to play the guitar. Like, I was like,
Right.
the guitar doesn't do that to me, at least not
Right.
yet.
Right.
That's the every day.
Yeah, just get
So, so yeah,
more
what was
disturbing ways.
what was the moment or the band like that you were just like, man, I got to learn how to play this, and this is what I want to do.
I guess just like high school. By the end of high school, I was like, I want to do this. You know, want
Yeah.
to play and
Well, the end of high school.
Yeah, kind of like, or by the end of high school, I was like, I think I'm gonna. Well, because by the end of high school, all I did was practice basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like, oh, maybe I should do this. You know.
Were you into jazz at that point?
I was jazz curious, you know, like, I mean, like I'd gotten in kind of guitar, then took me into like, you know, Holsworth, and then like, you know, Schofield Matheny, Frazelle, and then that took me so at that point I was like, starting to get into stuff like Branford and Kenny Garrett and stuff that wasn't around, where I grew up. So then I was like, it seems like a lot of these people went to Berkeley. So like, maybe I'll try that. But I still, I mean, this skating thing, I think I was, by the time I was out of high school, that was done. But I was still snowboarding and stuff. But at some point, I was just like, I can't do this because it's my job. I just can't afford to like break an arm trying to do something that I could do when I was 14.
Right. Yeah. Killing. What about you, Gilad?
Skating. Well,
have you thought about it?
I did some skating. I remember I wasn't very good at it.
It's hard, man. That's like some extremely hard stuff.
Yeah, no, I never got good at it. There was this one girl that I was kind of in love with, so I would skate next to her home all the time because it was down the hill. So I'd go up and hoping that she would come out.
Then you scrape your knees together.
No. So what's the question?
No, I was like, well. I mean, what
when
was
did you
it?
decide to stop skating?
Yeah, what's the moment when you were like, or switched over to jazz, or when you were just like, I'm gonna do this. Like this is where I'm going. But beyond like just a kid, like interested.
Yeah, I got sort of professional like early on because I was doing this TV show when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of TV show?
So they had like a house band. It was a children channel, but they had a house band because it was like a late night show, like
really?
kind of situation, like but in the morning.
I thought I recognized. No.
Dude, so I'm the living
So
example of that
somewhere
joke about like
is this
playing
on
3
YouTube
chords
anywhere?
and for 10,000 people and then
Right,
like,
right.
the jazz musician. So I had a fade from one to the other, like
Yeah.
because we used to also play live shows and it would be like literally thousands of people.
Wow.
So and there was, how old was I? Like I think 11 to 13. Like it was 2 years.
So you were like in Hanson, basically?
Yeah, Jonas Brothers.
I was just playing guitar.
Yeah.
I did have long blonde hair at that point, so that was somewhat handsome.
How was it blonde? You dyed it?
No, man.
You have blonde?
I was when I was a kid. I had blonde hair, or like dirty blonde.
As soon as you stop skating.
It just turned colors. Yeah.
I had kind of nears color
Yeah,
hair.
Really?
Yeah. And,
So,
and so
that's
that
crazy.
like I was kind of like doing
I didn't know
professional
that
stuff
about you.
early on.
So somewhere, you don't have to mention it, but definitely. Yeah. So somewhere there might be a YouTube video of you.
Definitely, definitely.
Oh, crazy.
But it's not under your
But
name.
you
have to
haven't
know
gonna
the name of
recognize
the
me because I have long blonde hair.
Right, yeah.
I still have a theory that maybe they selected me because they wanted a girl in the band and they couldn't find one, and I looked about like one enough.
Right,
They
right.
hired me.
Yeah.
If you dye your hair, we'll hire you.
Nice.
Yeah.
So after that, it was just like. But when did it switch over to like, okay, I want to play more than 3 chords?
Actually, during that time, because I was the youngest guy, so all the older guys were getting into fusion and stuff, and they like actually the drummer is a really good drummer, Tommy Titkiel, but his brother, Nirzi, he was drummer for like Genesis and stuff. So
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Lives in Nashville, still doing cool stuff.
Yeah. So that was the brother of the drummer in the band that I was playing in.
Right
So they showed me like a lot of actually my curiosity about more advanced music was through meeting those guys, the bass player,
Yeah.
because they were into like some more advanced stuff.
Right.
So
You always need that guy, right? That's like, hey man, you should, it's always,
Yeah,
it's always that.
one person can change the whole course. I mean, for me, it was like one guy in my neighborhood that was like, hey, have you ever heard of Alan Holdsworth?
Right.
And then from that sentence after, my life was like changed.
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Or like, and it was Holdsworth and Tony Williams at the same time.
Oh,
and
shit.
Tony led me to like Miles, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, after that, it was just like down
Yeah,
down that street.
And especially like I guess our generation, like pre-YouTube, where it's just like everything wasn't available.
No, it was,
Yeah.
you had to drive to other cities to look for records, or,
Right.
it was a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
And you had to drive the car yourself, right? You had to kind of like
no, I remember like calling friends and being like, "Yo, let's go look for records and like come pick me up. I'll give you $3 for gas and like buy a few CDs." And yeah, whatever you got that day, you would listen to the hell out of it. You know, it wasn't whether you liked it or not. It was kind of that was the vibe. Yeah. So you grew up in New York, right?
I grew up in New York State. Like my grandparents lived in the city, so we'd come to the city sometimes. But I wasn't like really hip enough or really old enough to like go check out stuff in the city. So I grew up in the suburbs with, you know, not that many people that were serious about music. I got into it from watching MTV. And like MTV was cool at the time. There was like Headbangers Ball and
MTV, yeah, I remember Headbangers Ball.
Yeah,
Headbangers Ball.
Ricky
Headbangers Ball. You don't know Oh man,
it was great, dude. So like band, they play weird bands like, you know, Napalm Death 1 second, and then Blind Melon, and then like Yo MTV Raps would have The Far Side, like early J Dilla.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just into music, and then I started playing guitar because some dude came into like my school had a fun with keyboards class where you would like plunk out like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and this dude came in with a guitar, and I was like, I want to do that.
That's good.
He was like a bird. It was like so funny. Like my first.
What's his name?
Trevor McEnany. He still owes my family like $50 because he would like.
So if you're listening,
Trevor, if you're out there, my first 2 teachers disappeared. They were like, you know, one was like this Berkeley dude, Trevor, who we paid him for like 3 lessons, and he gave me 1 and just like split.
Classic.
Super classic. And the next teacher I had, I was
biz major.
Yeah.
That's the reason why in new school today you don't get paid till you're done with all your lessons.
Right.
This is amazing.
Just realized live.
Yeah. That moment. Yeah.
Oh,
no, I tracking forms.
I forgot.
Yeah, I got.
Did you do it?
I did it. Anyway.
Sorry, new school, if you're listening.
The next dude was super cool. He was like a great teacher, and but he did the same. He kind of just disappeared. He's like, yeah, I'm going to Nashville for a month. I'll be back next month, and then he never came back.
Yeah. He never came back from Nashville.
He never came back, and but he was an awesome teacher. So, but then I lost my teacher. So I didn't. It was that time you guys were just talking about. It's like you drive like an hour to find a store that had like old issues of Guitar Player magazine because I couldn't find a teacher. Eventually, I linked up with a student named Arlen Roth, who was great. Do you remember him?
Yeah, he's the guy that did all the videos, right? Yeah.
He's the man. And then I went to, but still no jazz yet. And then I went to Berkeley, and I was like, oh shit. You know, people would be like, softly, 1, 2. And I was like, what? Like, you know,
play softly.
Softly? I got turned up, dude.
That was the vibe.
I love loudly. Do you guys know that?
I was totally clueless, so I just had to, you know, it kicked my butt completely.
Yeah.
So I had to get it together fast.
Man, but that's the way sometimes.
Totally.
That's how it was for me in high school. Luckily, I got a taste of it early, like where, you know, I was 15, I went to this performing arts high school with, you know, Glasper went there, Walter Smith, and like Kendrick Scott, all these guys. But man, there was this one guitar player that was absolutely killing. His name was Stefan Schultz, if anybody knows who that is. He went to Berkeley.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, if you were going to Berkeley around 96 or 95, 97, somewhere around there, he was going there. It was before, he was like 3 years ahead of me. And, but he was super killing. And he would come in the room and he would just say, "You suck!" and then close the door. But then afterwards, he would be like, "Man, you need to come by the house and like, let me show you some records. Like, you should have said, you know." But like,
so he was a teacher.
You know, no, he wasn't a teacher. He was a student.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so he would be like, "Come by the house. You know, I have a bunch of guitars and amps. You know, you can try different stuff. And like, I have all these records." And he had hundreds and hundreds of records. And we would just listen to music. He's the one who showed me Mark Turner for the first time, Brad Mehldau, like tons and tons and tons of stuff. Rad. And I just like springboard off of that. That was like that one guy. There was the one guy who showed me like, you know, like life outside of metal. And then there was the guy that once I was in the jazz world, that was like, dude, like let's really listen to some music. And you know, yeah, that was Stefan Schultz, who was like just 3 years ahead of me, but a super, super bad guitar player. But he died at like 25 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you know about him? When you were
Yeah,
at Berkeley?
I remember him. I think he was maybe just there for a year or something, or maybe we were there at the same time for a year.
The thing is, by the time probably anybody really got to know who he was a little bit out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I didn't know.
Without getting into too much detail, he wasn't the same person he was in high school.
Yeah.
In high school, was super focused, a little bit crazy, but like killing. Totally on.
Dude, I think he left his mark there because, people would talk about him and, take some stuff that they got from him and be like, yeah, Stefan Schultz used to do this thing. And
Are there any recordings of him?
His girlfriend that he was with through all of high school has, like, a whole album.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's with Cedric Mitchell, Chris Dave.
Yeah.
I forgot who's playing bass on it. But yeah, I know it's Chris Dave and Cedric Mitchell
I
playing.
gotta ask Cedric about that.
Cedric might have it.
Yeah.
Or he'll at least remember it. But I
Yeah,
can get it. And she's wanted to mix it and release it, but she doesn't, she's like, can you help me raise the money or whatever? I'm like, I mean, unless you know who this guy is, like, I don't, who are you going to ask for money? It's like, it takes, we've done records on our own. We know what that costs.
Mm.
So it's like, but also today I'm just like, man, just put it on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, and I think it's his original tunes actually,
Nice.
which I maybe heard like 20 years ago, but I don't remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another Berkeley cat who sounded great was this cat, David Darushko.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw him actually. That was the last tour I did before COVID. I saw him in Prague. He did a gig. Yeah.
Man, he's like
Super
I never heard him live, but I heard some bootlegs and stuff. He
Yeah,
sounds cool.
we got together and played duo, and like we hung a few times, and he's really bad.
Yeah.
I saw him like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or maybe 3. I was in a tour with Ben Wendell and we played in Prague and he came out.
Mm.
And we were at Berkeley. When I was at Berkeley, he was there. Lionel was there too. So,
Oh, I didn't realize you know one.
but yeah, me and David, we used to like play all the time, hang all the time.
That's awesome.
But he was and then we came to New York at the same time too, and I think everyone was just like, yeah, that's the guy. And then after a year, he was just like, I'm not sure about New York.
The funny thing about New York is like, and in general in schools also, like someone like Stefan, who's like, when I was in high school, I was like, this is the next Schofield or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but things, the difference of how someone is at 17 years old and 21 is like, they're a completely different person. Like the shit you go through from high school to the end of college, it's like, yeah, somebody might move here and just be like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
I got to get out. So there was a lot of super talented people like in New York when I moved here that are just not, no one, it's like, what happened to that?
Right.
That guy was killing,
Yeah.
Or some people that were, music, it was like almost, it was so easy for them that they were no longer interested.
That could be a problem, right?
Yeah. It's like, this is
Sometimes
easy.
people like that who are too.
I want to do something challenging, like sing country music. It's like, I know somebody like that. Like,
Right.
It's like, wow.
He was definitely a legend when I was at Berkeley, and people would tell like these like mythic
Darushko?
tales. Yeah, about like him being in like big band arranging and like stopping the class and being like, bar 56, this third trombone, it says A, but he's actually playing an A flat. Like huge ears and could read anything, and yeah, he sounded great too.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's
So, like, did you guys start really gigging? Like, I'm not talking about like, because in New York you kind of come here and you do these little small gigs in cafes and stuff like that. But at what point, was it while you were in school or after school that you started kind of doing more like club dates, like where people are paying cover charge, checking you out? You got like the guys like, let me see if this dude can really play. Like, who was like your first big gigs like in New York that you remember like, damn, I've been wanting to play with this cat and now I'm gonna do it.
I think that I started gigging basically in Boston, and in Boston it's like I did Wally's for a while, which is like
That was the spot, right?
Yeah,
that was like Smalls of the.
It's kind of like like you just have to go through that.
It
like,
was great though. I
it's
loved
amazing.
that
It's amazing. It's like like I remember like it was every Friday, Saturday, from like 9 to midnight or 12:30, I think, with like one like 20-minute break. That was it. It was just like. And and I just, when I started doing it, they were just like, we'll all just like do all Cedar Walton tunes. I was like, who? Nice. And then like the next day I would like learn one,
Right.
But yeah, that was definitely the first like sort of real gigs that I did. As far as New York, I think that the first time I remember like, oh shit, I'm playing with these people was like. Eric Rivas had a band for a while.
I remember.
Yeah.
With Tane, right?
With Tane. So I was like you know, and then I was such a huge Brantford, you know, like some those records in that band. So just like being in that band, like this fucking taint, you know.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like, wow, this is crazy, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. You guys played at the gallery, right? A couple times.
I think we did gallery, and then he had like kind of a residency at Fat Cat, which at the time like it was the separate.
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah,
that?
the
Like,
separate room.
Which it was kind of Smalls for the while. Like you remember when
The death
Smalls?
trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah,
Smalls is kind
it
of
was,
dead, and
literally.
then Fat Cat took over. But yeah.
Fat
So
Cat
that was
for
a
a
fun
little
room.
while was like super happening, man.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
I remember seeing you there a lot.
Yeah,
You had that
basically,
trio with Joe and
with Ari. Yeah.
with Ari. Right. Yeah.
We played at. I feel like we played at Fat Cat for the first time with Will. We
Was that
both was like 2 guitars.
I remember
I
doing
might
that
be fucking this up. I know we did 55 bar, but I feel like we did that gig twice.
first. Okay.
I
Yeah.
feel like the first time we did it was at Fat Cat, but I might be wrong.
You probably right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember the 55, but that sounds right that we did it there too. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was basically Smalls for a while.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Mitch Borden was Borden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like it's been so long. But yeah, Mitch
he's
was.
got a new club now.
I heard about
So
that.
yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Have you been
I
there?
No,
Yeah.
haven't been there yet.
What is it called?
I forget. Sorry, Mitch.
Like Bushwick or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, not too far from this area.
Yeah.
It should just be called Mitch.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, I remember you were playing with Ari. But what were you? You were before that.
Mitch was actually a very supportive figure when I first moved to the city because
Me too. Yeah.
he heard me. I came to town for a month when I was like 18, or like a month and a half, and I used to always stay for the jam session and always sit in. And he remembered me, and when the day that I told him like, "Hey, Mitch, I'm going back. I'm going back home." He's like, "Oh, when you're back, let me know." And I showed up, and he remembered me after 3 years when I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And he just took my phone number and he started asking me to do gigs at
Nice.
Cat and Smalls, which was awesome.
It's great.
And then also Anat was, she started calling me too.
But was it trio? Your own trio, or were you playing
Yeah.
with Ari? Which one came
Well,
first?
It was first my trio actually. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Ari, or was somebody else playing?
Sometimes I would try different people, and Mitch was actually at that time a lot of places used to book a lot shorter.
Oh yeah, it would be
shorter
like
time ahead.
yeah,
So sometimes it would be like a week before or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So you just call whoever's available. And
I remember I heard you playing with Eric, I think, and then the first time I heard you
Eric
was you were
Harlan?
playing. No, Eric Rivas.
oh, Rivas, yeah.
And then I remember hearing you with your own trio.
Yeah, I had a lot of I tried like so many configurations
Yeah,
before we recorded that record with Ari and Joe. But yeah, that was really nice. Like it shows kind of like how cool New York is, where like if you can play, people would be down to do like $100 gigs.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, just to kind of, people just want to
Have fun.
have
Like
fun.
music,
Use this place as a laboratory. And
Yeah, I feel like New York. It's funny when people come here and they're just like, "How do you make a living here?" I was like, "You don't."
Yeah. Totally.
I was like,
Totally.
you put yourself in a position in New York City to make a living,
Mm.
but you can't do that while you're here.
That's true. I never thought about that.
Unless you're willing to just play weddings and private events for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it that way.
Yeah.
But if you want to play music, then you have to do some other stuff. Yeah, you have to tour basically and record. And I remember you were playing with Francisco Mella at Fat Cat the first time
That
I think
was
I heard
like
you play.
the week after I moved to New York, which
Really?
was awesome. Yeah, I kind of started playing with him in Boston. When I was a senior, Joe Lovano put together like a band of. It wasn't like a Berkeley thing specifically, but it was like Esperanza. It was all Berkeley people. It was Mela and Esperanza and me, and the saxophone player Mike Tucker.
Right.
And then I started playing in Mela's band, but I was still living in Boston. And then I moved to New York, and we started playing right away. It was cool, and that's how I met Mitch, and he was super cool. And,
Yeah.
And it made New York less scary for sure to like meet so many people that first week and be like, oh, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And people were so cool, which was not the expectation I had. I was terrified. Everyone made it sound like New York's where you go to have your dreams crushed and like get spit
No,
on.
people
It
told me.
happens much later.
No,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I was like,
I heard
everyone's
all
cool.
the same things too.
Yeah, I met you guys pretty soon after. I was like, oh, everyone's super cool and, just wants to play and make good music. And, like, everyone's just all about the music, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if that's what you're about, too, you're probably going to get on fine.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember I first heard about you from Rodney Green, and I'm not
Really?
sure
Shit.
which context, but I was like, because we like, we were playing all the time at that time, and he was like, yeah, man, I just play with this guitar player, and you're like, he sounds really great, but he plays like this. Like, I think it's like a $50 guitar, but it's like, it sounds really good. It's just like, yeah.
You're not infamous. You can never switch, bro. You're like Jack Black. Not Jack Black. I mean, what am I thinking of? Jack, the dude from White Stripes.
The White Stripes? Not Jack Antonoff. Jack White.
Yeah, Jack White.
This is a sports
Jack
reference.
White. Huh?
This is a sports reference?
No, it's like Jack White is like known for like just getting like the Sears guitars and
it's a guitar.
it's like, but he gets like the killing tone out of anything. Like,
okay.
That's his shit. It's like
Dude, I love my guitar.
The thing is, like, I played your guitar, and afterwards I was like, Nir is like the baddest dude I think I've ever met. Because like, the fact that you could, I was like, I don't think you could play an instrument. If it's perfect, then it
But you
would,
had it from
would
what?
mess with your whole thing, like your whole sound.
What
is
age?
like,
13, I got that guitar, and all I did is I just put heavy strings on it because I loved Stevie Ray Vaughan was my guy, and it kind of still is. Like, I just when I listen to him, it's like everything I like about guitar, like the percussive thing, just the his sense of rhythm and his all the important shit, beyond the notes. Like I just love what he did. It's actually funny. I was listening to if you guys checked out Corey Wong's podcast.
no.
I was just on a long car ride and I put it on and he was interviewing Jimmy Vaughan and they were just talking and Jimmy Vaughan just like picked up the guitar at one point and he just went like the da 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 da. He was like, I was just learning shit like this when I was a kid. And the way he played that, I was like, I almost wanted to pull over because he just played that so incredibly well. And that's like one of the things I love is like, you can play the right notes, but if it's like there's just levels to it, right? You can play the same two notes and like one guy plays it this way, another guy plays it this way, another guy plays it. It's gonna blow your mind.
Right. Crazy.
So because heavy on a Strat is different than heavy on like a hollow body, right? Like would gauge?
They're 13s,
okay,
but like my action's not super high. There's a dude named Josh Smith in LA that has like 13s, but the action's like a mile above the neck, and I can't, and like he bends and stuff too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, have you guys ever played Adam Rogers' guitar?
No.
Man,
super high action.
It's super crazy high.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that he plays what he plays on that guitar. When I played it, I was like, how?
Wow.
Yeah, but it's like when you hear it, it's like you can kind of hear it's in the articulation, but his hands, he must be able to like freaking crush a rock with his hands.
Right.
It's like insane.
Makes every note he plays speaks.
Yeah, it's just like.
Yeah, he doesn't. No note gets lost, so that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like he's been doing it for a while. Like at a certain point, like I would imagine you're gonna start losing dexterity on high action like that. But for him, it's fine.
Yeah.
I guess if you're
beast.
Yeah. Or you just like live a healthy lifestyle. You don't do all the crazy shit that people used to do in the old days. Yeah. But yeah.
When I first moved to the city, I went to this guy. You guys know who Steve Berger is?
Yeah,
the guitar
of course.
setup guy. So I came over
I
to
got a
him with
great
my...
story about him.
Oh, yeah?
Well,
Save it.
No, it's funny.
Oh, no, you no, but I came to him with my Howard Roberts, which was my guitar at the time. He just looked at it. It was so high. The action was so high. He was like, "What? Why are you doing this to yourself?"
Right.
So I was like, "Yeah, I like the articulation." I was a real kind of out of hard bop at that time, so I was like, I thought that this is how I can get a good sound.
Right.
I had flat strings on there too. So he just said, "Listen, I'll put it down for you, and then if you want it back up, I'll bring it back up." But that day actually kind of changed my whole playing, like because he convinced me to bring it down.
What year was that?
That was 2004.
That's probably around the time. Yeah, I heard you for the first time. I just remember you had like the lightest touch out of anyone I know.
I remember that one gig where I was doing only left hand for a while, and you were like, "Man, you must have the lowest section." But that was a little later, though. I think.
But there's certain, like, a lot of people had low action, but like if you play, like, Holsworth had low action, but you would never know.
Right.
Like, this sounds, you have to touch the guitar a certain way to make it work.
Yeah. No, I definitely
Like,
had to work.
I would have to work, like, it would probably take me a year before I could
Mm.
change everything to get down to that.
I was like that. The sound of that, and this is not a criticism on anybody else's sound, but the thought of my own sound being like beyond the bell point.
Right.
At that point was like it was painful for me to like play a note and like have it like break. You know what I mean? Like that sound that where like you pass that sweet tone.
Right.
Threshold.
Yeah.
Now I'm actually more at peace with making that kind of sound. But at that point, it was like I just wanted to sound like Bill Evans. So I don't want to sound anything beyond that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more into that. I want to talk about some of that stuff with everybody, but like, just like the touch and like how you kind of found everybody here plays so different.
Mm-hmm.
What's
like,
your Steve Berger story though? I want to hear.
Oh yeah, the Steve Berger story. So.
Steve Berger used to do Jim Hall's guitars.
So exactly.
And Pete Bernstein's.
Peter Bernstein. So that's how I made Steve Berger. I was studying with when I was at New School. I had just gotten this 335, but it needed some work. And it was that one that I played for
the black one.
The black one, yeah.
Oh, so you got that at New School?
That's the first one I heard.
And I bought it off a friend for
Sweet
$1,000.
Rhythm. I remember that.
Huh?
Sweet Rhythm.
Sweet Rhythm, yeah.
Yeah, you're doing the New School thing.
Mm-hmm. And so I got that guitar, and I was like, I played it for a little while, and then I was like, it needs a fret job. So I asked Peter, because I was like, whoever works on Peter's guitars has to be the baddest dude. Like, and I was like, Peter, who do you use? He was like, call Steve. So I called Steve. He was like, hey man, I'm playing a gig in the West Village. You can come and drop off the guitar to me there, tonight. And I was like, great, I'll meet you there. And it was like some Italian restaurant, like on Bleecker Street.
Was he playing with Bob Duro that night?
I don't know. He wasn't playing with Bob.
Oh,
I wouldn't remember that. But I knew he did play with Bob Duro.
Right.
And so I went there, and I'd never met him before. And I think Peter had kind of warned me. He was like, he's a different kind of cat. And so I came, and he was like, oh, hey, okay, you're the guy with the guitar. Okay, cool. Give me a call on Wednesday or whatever. It was like Sunday. He's like, give me a call on Wednesday. I'll let you know when it'll be ready. I was like, okay, great. And then he was like, get the fuck out of here.
Nice, killing it.
But like dead,
Right.
stone cold face. And he was like, I'm just kidding. He was like, call me on Wednesday. But I was just like, I was like, no, get the fuck out of here. I was like, is this dude in the mafia or some shit?
Right.
But it was hilarious. And after that, I was like, that's what Peter was talking about.
Right.
And then of course, after that, he was cool. But do you remember like did you ever hear that story about his daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy shit.
Yeah.
Did you hear that
I don't
story?
know this. No, I don't know Steve.
I've never met him.
Well,
but
the only reason I'm saying it is because it was like a miracle like story where they live at the Westbeth building in the West Village,
Right.
and his daughter was playing on the rooftop. It's a 14-story building. She fell in like the trash chute or something, and she fell 14 stories and survived uninjured.
Wow.
Woof.
Whoa.
It was like a miracle.
Wow.
That was the last time I talked to him. It was like years after he had worked on my guitars, but I was like, dude, I gotta call him to be like, just.
Wow.
I was like, man, that was an insane story.
Speaking of
But
which,
yeah, it made the news and everything.
Wow.
speaking of which, who do you guys use in New York for your guitars these days?
Have you guys been to Flip Scipio?
Not yet.
That sounds made up.
Oh, it's.
It does.
I'm just kidding. No, Flip is the man. It's funny because Flip is the man, and he makes fun. He makes fun of his name too, because he used to work for a
Oh, there it
bozo.
comes. There it comes.
Do you guys know those bozo guitars? I forget bozo's last name, but they're really
Are you making
nice.
this shit up now?
No,
It does.
I swear, Flip
Yo,
used to
just
work for
kidding.
Bozo, and they're both brilliant. Bozo, like, have you guys, that like blue guitar collection? It's like a DeQuisto that this guy commissions all these other builders.
Oh
to
yeah,
make
of course, yeah.
the blue collection. But there's a Bozo in one of those. I've
Yeah.
gotten to play it, and it's an amazing instrument. But
Not as
Flip's
good
the
as
The DeQuisto?
No, yeah.
As
my Strat.
As a
Oh,
Strat.
well,
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really never going to compare. It was $250, by the way, Rodney. No, Flip's incredible. He's incredibly great. So I would happily share his contact info with you. He refretted Paul McCartney's Hofner.
Oh, wow.
You know, that's like the level, and you know,
Is
he's
that?
worked.
No, I'm just-
Mm.
So you're Paul, you're John.
Oh yeah,
you're
that's
George.
right. You made a post. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
I can be Paul.
Wait,
I'm
he's-
totally cool with
I
that.
think Paul. Yeah, I think
Paul.
Mike's
Yeah.
Paul. John.
I think John.
George.
I kind of have John glasses, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you do. You look
You
the
guys
most
can
like
fight
John.
But yeah, he's super fantastic, amazing, great dude. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, Pablo. I think everybody goes to him, but I mean,
he left town.
my guitars are made by that guy Stephen Marchioni, so I just wait until I see him, and it's kind of. But recently, like yesterday, I went to see Pablo
Yeah, I have.
for
He's in town, right?
my acoustic. Yeah, he's in
Yeah.
town, and I took my acoustic to him, and then when he saw it, he was like, and I didn't even notice that the bridge was coming off of my
Oh,
acoustic,
oh, it
and
was like-
I think it had happened in the last time I opened the case, and I took it out of the case and I played it a little bit and put it back. But he was like, I can't work on this. So I gave it to somebody else that was in the shop at Sadowski, and he was like, I'll take care of it. And
Nice.
apparently that dude is incredible. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Tom Crandall's also great. If you guys have been to TR Crandall in Lower East Side, he's really
And
good.
also there's a guy,
Yeah.
Masino.
I've heard of him
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
he used to work with Steven, and that's how Steven gave me his number. He's like,
Okay.
if you ever have a problem with one of my guitars, take it to Mas,
Oh, okay.
and he's the guy.
Nice. Kind of seems. I don't know if you guys have spent that much time in LA, like dealing with gear, but it just seems like they really
that's
haven't
the city
figured
for
out
gear,
out there.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. So like anytime I've had to get like pedals repaired or something, you know, I've done it in New York and like,
Right.
you know, it's passable or amps or stuff. But then like if I ever have to do it in LA, I'm like, oh, you guys are on a whole other
No,
thing
it's,
out
it's,
here.
there's
like,
a whole nother thing. It's a whole
it's a-
culture.
Yeah.
I mean, luthiers, amp builders, like pedal
They're
builders, like
all about it and they
West
crush
Coast, man,
it.
California, yeah, for sure.
So definitely like, if I ever get another pedal board made, I'll probably do it out there.
Did you have yours made?
Kind of. No, not exactly.
Okay.
You know, I had the case made.
Okay.
I really like my case. If you guys
You have a
pedal board
rolling
case,
one,
I have a
right?
rolling case that I
Okay.
check. Stomping Ground. Really, it's I've had it for like 15 years and it's still like holding up.
Yeah.
One time it fell down a flight of stairs and it fucked up the stairs.
Nice. The
This
stairs.
is cool.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
should see the stairs.
Yeah.
How heavy is it?
It's not heavy.
It's not heavy.
It's not heavy. It's amazing. This guy did an amazing job. So I don't even know if he's still building because I've had it for so long. But yeah, it's rad.
That's going.
Yeah, I'm trying to. You were just asking. I just bought that like quad cortex thing.
Yeah.
Some gigs for certain situations.
What is that?
It's like you can profile your. You can
Oh,
capture
yeah,
your pedals.
like in that, like,
you can
Axe
capture
Effects
like I
thing.
can, like this sound,
Right.
this amp, I can capture it, and then it's not the same. We were talking about like.
How do you
there's-
capture it? Like there's a microphone or?
You can do it with a capture box, or you can do it with microphone. You can take it to a studio, mic everything up, like with killing preamps and everything, and then capture that sound, and then it basically just reproduces that sound. But I'm just, man, after this last tour, I took like 3 weeks of clothes. I started playing with another band in California where I needed all summer clothes, and then winter clothes, everything in the middle, plus my pedal board, plus bottles of wine and like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Man, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah.
Man,
And
less
I was like,
less underwear next time.
yeah. Man. I mean, yeah, I might have to start washing clothes in the sink. And yeah.
Man,
Or-
the first, like, I think that's an interesting point. Like, now that it's kind of back to normal after that break, do you feel like you've just lost all your road chops?
I
Oh,
lost a
it's
lot of
hard.
chops.
Oh,
It's
man.
And
I
you-
left
my
so
butt.
much
And
stuff.
it's so much harder than you
Yeah.
remember. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like day 2, it's just like, God, I don't know how to feel like a month. Like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
But, and like the first tour I did, like, with Melissa Aldana, and like, I get to the hotel and I open my suitcase and I was like, what the fuck is that? It's just like a bunch of pants, like nothing else. Like I don't know how to, and then like
A
the
bunch
next,
of
yeah, just pants, just a lot of pants, like no shirts, no one, just like I
I
have
forgot how to pack.
I have no idea what I'm doing, and then like the next morning, you know, like miss lobby call, like make everyone late, almost miss the
Yeah.
flight because I said PM instead of AM.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like my
yeah.
first tour ever. Like I just don't. I don't. Yeah, it's
You ever
all gone.
You ever saw that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where like it's like a dream where Larry David's he's dreaming and he's in bed in the hospital and he's on his deathbed and he's talking to his wife and he says, you know, I should have traveled more. You know, I regret not traveling
Right.
more. But he was like, the truth is, I hate to pack. that was why he never went to
Right.
Europe. He's like, I should have went to Europe. But
Mhm.
I hate to pack. And I totally get it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Packing sucks.
Yeah.
I have a checklist, a packing
Oh,
checklist.
killing.
Okay.
I found that so helpful, so I don't have to
You
think
should
about
sell
it.
on your website.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'll let
News
you guys
pack
know.
list.
It just so I don't have to think about it the night before. I can just look at it, throw it in. I'm done.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Kendrick said that he puts everything in the same place every time.
Mm.
That's how he remembers to bring
Yeah, I
everything.
do that too.
You have like a placement
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I
Gotta
have
have
like
a system.
the you know the what's the little like bag like the different what do you call it, the luggage like you know there's like here's for your t-shirts
It's
and
got
this
like
one
compartments.
yeah,
Yeah.
like not compartments like they're loose like bags but just
Oh,
like
you have
I
that.
see.
yeah I have that because otherwise it
I've
just
been
gets
considering that.
it gets so messy you know it just like oh where's the yeah
So speaking of touring, like what was your first? Do you remember your first tour? Like who was the first band?
first like real proper tour was Carmen Lundy
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
yep
What kind of embarrassing mistakes did you make as a
well,
freshman?
so the band at the time, it was like me, Glasper, and Jason Brown,
Oh.
and then her brother Curtis
Okay.
on bass, and yeah, I remember we the first one was like a week at Ronnie Scott's,
Mhm.
like old Ronnie Scott's.
A week?
Yeah,
Nice.
they did weeks. Yeah, and yeah, I remember like you know my parents came out and everything, and I don't know if it was that night, but at some point there was some tune that was like Robert did the intro with Carmen, you know, and something happened to the piano or Robert, I'm not sure. Like it was just like, oh, you got it, but I didn't have that. That was not in my part.
Yeah.
And like I hadn't checked out, you know, like I
Yeah.
just like looked at my notes and I was like, I'm gonna solo them. What are the changes, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, you know, and I was trying to wing it, and
Yeah,
it wasn't there. So that felt good. And I was like, I'm gonna stick with this.
I feel like the most raunchy stuff that's ever happened to me is always with a singer, because that's why I said to this day that that's the hardest thing to do,
Right.
is like play with a singer, because it's not about like your technical shit or your
Yeah.
harmony, or it's just like,
musical,
does this feel good and does
Right.
it sound good?
yeah,
That's it.
make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten, the most scared I've ever been on stage is with singers. With
Yeah,
good
oh,
singers.
Yeah, for
Good
sure.
singers.
Yeah.
When a good singer turns around, she looks at you with a certain way, like,
Yeah.
or he, in my case, it's always been a woman, but like, I was
Yeah,
like,
mention sing.
I am scared right now. Like, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
It's different than, just the instrumental situation where somebody's like, you're calming too much, or like,
Yeah.
you're not making the changes, or like, you need to check this tune out, the rhythms are wrong. It's like, no.
Yeah.
When somebody turns around and is like, you need to fucking play, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. I remember talking to Sullivan Fortnite at some point about that, and he was like, all my favorite piano players seem to be like really good at playing with singers.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I should.
That's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna try it. If I work on that, maybe I'll, yeah. That
And
seems to be
when
a
I was
pattern.
younger, I used to be scared to go to a jam session if a singer would get on stage.
Right.
Because it wasn't because I didn't want to play with a singer, it was because I was like scared of sounding bad. And that was like, like I can finally admit that. Like it's like, wow, that's the hardest thing to do. It's like, go up with a singer you never played with, and he says a key,
Yeah.
and you're just like, cool, let's do this.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I was always like too nervous to do it. I was like, I'm gonna wait till all my friends get up and we can play stablemates or some shit. Yeah. But anyway, what was your first road Well, like real tour, like where you're like getting paid and you're like.
Yeah, I think maybe Ari.
Yeah.
Ari Honig's band. Actually, we did a couple of tours that it's funny to think about it now, but it was with double billing with Snarky Puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Before everybody.
Before guys.
Yeah.
No, I think we were still opening for them, but yeah, before they became who they are now, and it was also in the South, which I never really toured in the South. So
it doesn't happen so much.
Doesn't happen as much, no. So I think those were some of my first tours. Anat, maybe those were.
Oh wow!
Anat Cohen and Ari Honig were my first like serious employers, let's say. Band leaders.
How did you use to? Did you have a pedal board or you just had like a couple?
At first, when I started playing with Ari, it was just a Holy Grail reverb.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just remember throwing like I have like an original Klon, you know that I used to tour with, and it's fucking beat up. It's all scratched and like. I was like, man, if I knew how much this thing was going to be worth, like in 2020, I would have like had like a board or like a bubble wrap and like everything. Yeah. So
what is that? What is it worth in 2020?
Like $3,000.
What'd you buy?
$300.
Damn.
Why is it worth so much?
Because the guy doesn't make them anymore.
So
if you want an original one, you can get clones of
clones
them.
Are good, right?
Clones are good. I mean, I have two of them, and the one on my board now is a Chinese clone that somebody gave me. The
small guy?
No, it looks exactly. It's like an exact replica. Like, if you had them back to back, I couldn't tell you which one was one.
Really?
Was the other than the fact that mine looks like shit. But the one I have on my board looks pristine.
But blindfold, you wouldn't hear the difference?
I would say that the clone sounds a little bit cleaner, but for what I use
you mean the
it
original
for,
clone?
No, the clone.
The clone of the
clone of the clone.
Gotcha.
Sounds a little bit cleaner, and warmer, which actually I like.
You like it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you use it for like real overdrive or just like some gain?
No, it's just to kind of boost the signal, and sometimes I'll kick up the gain.
Okay.
And but I just remember the reason why I bought that pedal, and this is when it's good for jazz musicians to be close to rock musicians, and I know you're super into that. It's like or you're somewhere in the middle actually. So, but for me, I got a lot of help with sound from a couple of friends of mine. Both of who are like super in the rock world. One is Mike Severson, who's also from Houston, plays with Glasper's experiment band, and another guy named Eddie Wright, who took my place in Liz Wright's band.
Oh, I know Eddie. Eddie's great, man. Lives in Atlanta.
And so Eddie was the first dude that was like, just flat out told me, he was like, "You're bad, but like, you need to work on your sound. Like, your sound could be so much better if you had good gear."
Wow.
He was like, "You just need to get good gear." But the person before Eddie that told me that was the sound engineer for Josh Redman's band. When I was playing with Josh, after one of the gigs, he came up to me. He's like, "Man, you keep using that tube screamer." He's like, "That's bullshit." He was like, "You need to get some good gear, man." He was like that.
Was it a bad tube screamer or?
It was like some tube screamer that I bought at Guitar Center like 3 months before the tour.
With the four modes.
Yeah. So then it wasn't a vintage tube screamer, but he was like, "Man, that pedal sounds like shit." He's like, your gain sounds like shit. He was like, "You need to get some good gear." He was like, "Before the next tour, get some good gear." And it was like, this the sound engineer. It wasn't Josh.
Right.
Yeah.
But I could also, but when you realize, like, when you have more experience, it could also be Josh through the tour manager.
Right.
So it could have been Josh, like, "Man, this motherfucker's cool, but his sound is just not happening." Why don't you tell him his sound's not happening? You're the sound guy, you know. So then Paul was like, "Yeah." So I talked to my friend Mike, who's a super ridiculous rock guy, and you know, he's studied jazz and all this stuff. But and his sound was killing, and he was like, "This is what I'm using." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get that." So that's how I got my first clown. It was like, and it was $300. I had to wait 3 months for it, but it was.
Oh, he made it, yeah.
Yeah, he makes them all by hand.
Is he still around?
Yeah. He's still around.
Why is he not making more? He can make like $1 million.
Because I think he's doing something else, and he's just over it.
Well, he did make a new one called the Klon KTR, which he was super
Well, he
cool
sold
about
the
it.
design. He sold the design to KTR. I think.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was through him, but I mean, they were limited run, and
He
they were
approved it.
okay.
Yeah, it's approved by him.
They were
That's it.
super cheap when they came out. He wasn't trying to like price
Yeah,
gauge or
$250.
anything. $250, and now they're like $1,000 for those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy
I had two of them at some point, and I bought two, and I picked the one that I liked the most, and I sold another one to like a friend.
They
of
sound
mine.
different?
Yeah, those two that I bought sounded a little bit different.
Wow.
Not drastically different, but I picked the one that I thought sounded different,
Mm.
and I sold the other one to like a friend of mine in Ecuador.
That's why I like playing acoustic guitar so much.
Yeah.
It's like once you get into the like
No,
two
it's
clones,
just- right,
and
yeah.
this one sounds a little bit better. It's like, oh yeah, here's an acoustic guitar. This is the sound that I'm making right now in the
Right.
room. My fingers. But the pedal game can just get so exhausting. The sound game in general, like
I
amps
mean,
and
you
cables
can
and-
make anything work, man.
absolutely.
Like it's just like you know, there's tons of people that sound incredible with whatever, or people that are producing at home with, you know, they don't have the best mics or they don't have the
Absolutely.
best like, you know, preamps and all that stuff, and it's still killing.
Yeah.
Because they know
Yeah,
what they're doing.
totally.
You know,
Totally.
Yeah.
they can make $1 out of a cent. You know, it's like.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, also like for what we do, like we travel all around the world, and we're playing in a different city with different bands a lot of times, different sound people, different audiences. Like it's nice to have something consistent, so that even though you're not home, you feel like, oh, at least I have
yeah.
the sound from my pedal board, and maybe like hopefully the same backline amp that I use all the time. It's just like almost a comfort zone thing.
Oh
that
yeah.
you have one controlled variable because everything else is going to change.
I've even thought about traveling with tubes.
Mm.
Because like so many times,
Easy
like
to do
I
it.
played my first gig the other day, and it was a live stream, and it was like Detroit Jazz Festival. And after the second tune, the first tune, I was like, the guitar sounds weird. We sound checked, but at a low volume, and you know, like
Yeah.
drummers, they have a sound check volume,
Totally.
and then the show starts and it's
Absolutely.
twice as loud, and so
Absolutely.
I turned the amp up, and the amp was just not doing its job, and I was like, there's something wrong, and I went behind the amp and I looked, and it was a deluxe reverb, and it was 3 tubes, and one of them was not there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh shit.
And so I was like, fucking, there's a tube missing.
Mm.
But like, yeah, it's like, I've thought about that, and you know who does that is Charlie Hunter.
Mm.
Charlie Hunter takes tubes on the road,
Mm.
and he, every time, he retubes whatever amp is on backline, he retubes it, and then plays the gig.
Mm.
And then
Wow.
after
Doesn't
the
it
gig,
do, like,
takes the tubes
bias
out.
it or something? Is there a bias?
Yeah, well, you have to
Things
get,
if you change
you
the
get the
power
whole,
tubes.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So that's preamp tubes. You can just
Preamp tubes you can swap in.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm not like the best with this stuff, so I hope I'm not saying anything wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can just swap.
You
out
get
preamp
comments
tubes.
like
I know, some dude's mad.
Well,
I'm sorry.
whatever he does, that was the first dude I was like, oh shit, maybe I should start doing that because, you know, I mean, tone crazy, like, people, like it's like travel with tubes.
Yeah.
Because you might get what you asked for, but the tubes are busted or they're not working or whatever. And it's
Wow.
like, yeah.
I'm always really like I was just on the road with our friend Bernice. You know, he used to live in this building, and like
Yeah, he used to live
his
downstairs.
amp was totally busted. And we had a week there. His amp was totally busted.
What was this?
In St. Louis this past week, and he was just like, whatever. Like he wasn't happy about it.
Well, also, he's the chillest person on
Yeah.
earth.
He wasn't happy about it, but he was just like, whatever. And he played his ass. I mean, he always plays his ass up, but he really was like not tripping at all. And I was like, well, there you go. That's how you really should do it. I mean, it's kind of a little bit different with bass, electric bass,
Right.
but his amp was like, you know, breaking up at certain points, and he was just like, whatever.
Wow.
He just sounds so good. He just put, you know, it didn't like phase him.
Yeah.
The way some people might get in their heads about it and really get this sort of anxiety that would distract them from.
No, I get
making the best
totally like
music.
that. It ruins the gig.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's hard for me to like, once you get in that headspace, to then return
Right.
into a good headspace to where you can finish the gig.
You guys ever play pickup guitars on the road?
Only once,
I haven't.
because my guitar didn't show up.
I
Yeah.
had to do
Yeah.
that once. It was horrible.
I never have, and I check my guitar.
Okay.
But it
I always
was.
expect that I will, but it's never happened. Yeah.
But
Or
luckily,
jam
it
sessions,
wasn't the
like
main
picking up the
guitar.
local
Oh.
guitar at a jam session.
Oh
like,
no, I've done
whatever.
that before.
Man, I kind of love that stuff because I feel like you don't expect anything from it. Like you just kind of you're open enough to say like, oh, let's see how this plays.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always have so much fun when I play somebody else's setup. Like, it's just,
Well, it could be fun, but is it being recorded? That's the problem.
whatever.
I did that once, and I was like, this is going to be fun. We're hanging, and everybody's having a great time. And then, a month later, you go on YouTube, and it's like, there's you playing
That's
this
okay.
dude's guitar, like, in some random country, like, yeah.
I saw Benson basically playing your guitar. Like, I mean, it wasn't your guitar, but like just some guy's Strat at a jam session, like at the North Sea Festival one year. It sounded exactly like.
Have you ever? There's a video. Do you guys know Ricardo Silveira? He's a guitar player in Brazil. He lives in Rio, and he played with everybody, like Elisa Gina and Milton Nascimento and all these guys. But he used to have a regular gig in Rio de Janeiro, like in the 80s, and there was this one night, and it's on YouTube. It's like Carlos Santana and Pat Metheny are in the audience, and at that time Pat was hanging with Ricardo. He was following him to all the sessions and stuff like that, and they were like good friends. And Ricardo said, "Man, do you want to come up and play?" And Pat was like, "No, I don't have my guitar," And then Carlos Santana got up and played Ricardo's guitar, and then after that, Pat was like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm gonna play it." And so he went up and played. That sounds like every Pat Metheny record you've ever heard.
It's on
Now,
YouTube.
granted, Ricardo had a good setup. Like, it's not like he had like a whack guitar with a whack setup, but it was incredible. It's Pat playing a Strat through somebody else's gear. He didn't change anything, and it sounds like every Pat record you've ever heard. Yeah.
That's on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I think Ricardo put it up. Or no, he didn't put it up. He found it, and he was like, he sent it to me. He was like, "This is that thing I was telling you about." Somebody uploaded it,
Amazing.
which maybe it was
cool.
coordinated, but no. But it's a great moment. It's like, wow, you can actually see it. Yeah. But I've heard that same story about Benson from Mark Whitfield, where he said he was playing a gig one night and he wasn't happy with the sound, and Benson was there and he felt bad about it, and Benson was like, came up and played, and it was killing.
Yeah.
And then he handed the guitar. He was like, "Man, what did he do?" And he went to the amp. He was like, "What did he change?" Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've had the reverse when I remember one time I sat in with Modest Yahoo, this like pop artist.
You sounded like George Benson?
I sounded exactly like Benson. No, I sounded awful because the dude, it was an action.
Wait, you
band.
said him with this Yahoo?
Yeah, with Aaron. Do you know Aaron Dugan?
No.
Aaron's a great guitar
I know
player.
Aaron. Yeah.
Aaron's the man. Aaron was playing guitar, and I didn't expect to. I went to see the show, and he just took his guitar off, and I was like, "You want to play a tune?" And I was like, "Sure, this is gonna be fun." And then his action was so high that I was like, "I can't play anything on this guitar." So, yeah,
It's
I've
funny,
not had that experience.
I played several people's guitars, which I'm sure all of you have. But one time I was at a Pascal Grosso was playing at Mesro, and he looked at me and he was like, "Come up and grab my guitar." I was like, "Okay," and I've always thought that he had low action. Man, I could barely play his guitar. I don't know how he does what he does on the guitar. Like, it feels like it sounds like he's barely touching it, but it was like I could barely get a fucking note out.
I think it's pretty easy what he does. That's always my
it's pretty easy.
I
He's not that good.
Just taking the easy way out every time. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's not working hard at all."
But I was like, it's funny. But I don't know. I've never picked up another person's guitar and been like, "Yeah, I can do this." Like it's just always been like, how are you really doing this?
You just have to adjust your.
That's why when people ask, like, there's like, "How are you setting up? What strings do you use and what pick do you use?" And like, I was like, it's never gonna work for you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, that's the thing is, like, I could tell you, but it's pointless. Like,
and sometimes like your body kind of tells you also how you should play too. Like for me, like when I went to Berger and he told me to lower my action, it was life changing. But it was also like the first time that I stopped feeling pain in my right hand, and things. Because I started using my left hand more because I could. And then like I realized that like my body is just like, this is how you're supposed to play the guitar.
Do you ever switch gauges like during a tour, or like are you like kind of stuck with the same thing for years?
I have different guitars that have different gauges. Like
exactly. That's the thing is, what guitar are you playing, and therefore then we could start there, but with gauges.
Well, so. We finally arrived at the string gauge conversation,
which
guys.
we've all been waiting for.
So everybody who had it on mute, unmute now.
Unmute now.
No, I have 13s, but they're Tomastics, so they feel like 12s to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
which kind do you use? You said?
Tomastics.
But which ones?
Bebop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So yeah.
They feel softer than 13s, right?
Yeah, they feel soft. Yeah, but they're nice.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Too expensive.
They're very expensive. And I have this new headless guitar, and I just went to Pablo to set it up. And you can't do it on a necklace guitar because as soon as you cut the string before the
Oh, you get
colorful part,
that red wrap, like it's super.
it breaks.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
So I lost a whole expensive.
So the necklace thing, that's a travel thing.
Yeah, it's a really nice, Mofa, the same builder as my guitar. He made it, and it's to me it sounds like 85% as good as my main Mofa, which is pretty decent. Like I think it's a really nice thing to have if you're just going to a jam
So
session.
like 85% for the road is good enough.
That's pretty good.
I honestly, I still, I took it on the road a couple of times and I enjoyed it, but maybe it's a matter of getting used to it. But it sounds great. I mean, it sounds great for. It's surprising how good it sounds for the size and because it can really fit in like a tiny guitar case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel weird though? Like.
So it feels different, but actually the neck feels kind of nice. And once, it's like so easy to get obsessive about like every like the balance and all that stuff. But once you just embrace this is the guitar you're playing for this next round, like 7 days or whatever, then you kind of like start just playing to it, and it sounds great and it feels great. So.
Yeah.
I like what you said about like when you pick up someone's guitar and you don't have any expectations.
Right.
You're not trying to force like I have to play the way I usually play.
And you know how good a guitar can feel or a setup can feel that you're like, oh, it's not quite perfect. Let me just change this one thing. It's like, oh, this feels like shit, and let me just make music with this now.
It makes sense. It's music's like that too. You just can't force it. Like it always sucks when you force it. It's just like, okay, this is what I can do with this guitar. Great, let me do that.
Yeah. So. I've had the unique experience of playing like the gigs that you guys do, like, and so with me and Lage, it seems like
we're very incestuous.
Yeah.
You guys just literally switch in the middle of a tour, no?
Like
so
I
feel like we're in an open relationship with several people.
That's true. It's true. Committed open relationship.
Yeah, it's like a.
If one of you get COVID, the other one should get a call.
Yeah. I don't mind as long as I get it from him.
Right.
Yeah. No.
I'll be honored to get COVID.
But with other people, it's like you kind of know. But with you, Lage, we've switched places with like sometimes I'm subbing for you with Will, but then it's like, then Will will say like, oh, can you do this record? And I'm like, well, I thought I was subbing for Lage, and this gets into this weird kind of thing of like, okay, whose gig is this? Yeah, and it's like, and then you realize like you have to put yourself in the mindset of the band leader. Whereas, like, I know as a band leader, I could never decide. I love so many different piano players. And if somebody can't make a date, then the next guy can. And then it's like, I'm totally fine with that. And maybe I'm totally fine with them doing the next record or whatever. And I feel like we've gotten into that kind of thing with, like, Will and, like, Jochen for sure. But, like, I've had to, it's always that weird thing of, like, learning tunes while listening to somebody else do something, and it's not like we're learning parts, but I'm learning a tune that you played on, and to me, I listened to it, I was like, fuck, Lage sounds fucking good, what am I going to do, it's like, but I feel like I've gotten into that with all of you, like, where we're playing the kind of same gigs, and it's like, kind of, at what point do you just have to shut off that fucking thing of like, okay, this guy did this on this tune, and I'm going to do my thing, I've always found it interesting with like Jochen's music, like in particular, like I was like, I feel like you understand, but it might just also be my like sort of insecurity or something. I was like, I feel like Lage understands what Jochen's writing better than I do.
No,
and I it's like I never asked you about it,
Yeah.
but I was like, how do you? Because I feel like drummers are very unique, and Francisco Melo is also the same, but I feel like Jochen really has this thing in his head which is not defined. And he puts it down on paper, and it's as specific as he can get to it, but it's kind of the rest is less up to whoever's playing the harmony. And I found like I can't listen to you play Jochen's music because I start wanting to do that.
Right.
So like, but I've also gotten Jochen music that you haven't played.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, so what do I do now?
I've done the same thing.
It's
with
like
you,
it's always this interesting kind of like at what point do you use a reference when you're learning somebody's new music or
right.
and but that one gig in particular, like Jochen's music, and also I just went through it with Melissa, where
Right.
I was like, Melissa sent me a bunch of recordings which I played for like 10 seconds, and I was like, if I listen to what Lage's doing, then I'm gonna inherently like just try to replicate what you're doing. So do you if you got a guitar or like a track from any of us playing,
Yeah.
would you listen to it?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to it, but I would mainly listen to the head. Like, I like to learn music by listening to it and not looking at the chart so much. But the solos, like you said, like I don't want to, but I've had that. I think with all of you guys, just like whether it's like Kendrick or Keon or like Ari or something. It's like here's the tune and then I'll listen to the head but as far as the soul, like just to get the sections or something.
Yeah.
But I mean it's kind of one of my favorite things too. You know what I mean? Like I like when I do a gig and I see some of you doing it or vice versa, just like I never thought of going there, or like that's a cool like. I think that's really inspiring. I think it's cool,
Yeah.
But as far as like Jochen specifically is concerned, that's almost like a separate genre of because it's like what I discovered is like when I started playing with him in the beginning, I saw his I just had like handwritten charts and stuff because he doesn't do any.
No PDFs.
It's
like,
just
no like a computer.
Nothing computer. It's just like handwritten stuff, and I thought like okay like he's the drummer. I'll help him hook up this harmony and like this is there's a lot of flat nines on these major 7 chords and like I'll hook it up I'll get it right. And he's like, man, can you play like and be like specifically saying like I'm not hearing that like and I was like okay shit like you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, he's not bullshitting.
No.
I sat on the gig a couple of times on Yoga's thing, and I remember that same feeling. Like he's really everything is very intentional.
It's very intentional, and it's like to me it's like that sounds like a mistake, but it's like no, that's supposed to that because it feels bad. That's what I want. And like this section is supposed to feel like this feels really uncomfortable. It's like that's bad. Like that. And once I got that, I was like, okay, I get it. Like let me just I'll just try to embrace that kind of thing. But
I just remember when the first gig I ever did with Jochen, I was like, I don't understand these tunes, and it took like a few gigs to where I was like, okay, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's always to me like I always think because somebody else might have done the gig before me, I was like, did they understood this as soon as they got it or something like that. It's always this thing. It's like, am I behind or like, so it's always curious. Like, I never asked you about it, but I was just like, fuck. What was your mindset, or like did you help mold it, or like, I don't know. It's a very unique thing to drummers, like where it's like, it's mostly written, but there's a lot of stuff left in ambiguity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and that I feel like that's what kind of that's the place where some cool stuff can happen. And it's different than like Ari Honig or something where it's like it's very kind of sort of defined. Like this is where we're going to modulate to this kind of time fill and like that. It's very rhythmically defined. But then in that situation, actually, I like to listen to it because I was like, let me see. I have to listen to it because I have to see how this works.
Mm.
Because there is a way that it works.
Yeah.
So.
Well, sometimes listening to it is nice also, so you don't do the same thing as somebody else did too. Like you listen to it and you go like, oh, that's what I did. Let me try a whole other thing on it.
Right.
That could be helpful.
I would listen to it.
always.
I would listen to it just because I love hearing you guys play. So I would be just geeked to be like, oh, cool, like Lage's on this.
But
or
that
Mike's on
doesn't get
this.
into your.
It doesn't get into my
your,
head.
like,
No, because I can't do what you guys do at all. And like, the only
I feel the same way.
the only time it sucks is if the band leader actually wants you to.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Can you do the...
Yeah, like Gilad did it
No.
like this, and I'm just like, well, call Gilad.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I did, but he wasn't available.
right.
No, this is the funniest thing. The other shit is, dude, it has happened with you for sure, and with you. It hasn't happened with you yet, but I'm sure it will at some point before, our careers are over. But it's like where you check into the hotel, and they're like,
yeah.
hello, Mr. Lund.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm actually the guy, my name's Michael.
You're like, I didn't know. So
Or
like, until
like the
now.
other, there was one gig on Melissa's tour where I checked into the room and they were like, put your room number and last name, and I put the room number and last name, and it was like access denied for the Wi-Fi, and I was like, Lund. And then it was like, yeah, cool. It was the Wi-Fi was working. I was like, but also like some of those Magos Herrera tours. Magos Herrera is like, I have to give her props because it's like the only Mexican fucking singer like out there like
Great singer.
that we both work with, and really cool arrangements and everything. Like, but there was like several times on playing with her where I would check into the hotel. They were like, we have a Mr. Felder. Oh, okay. That's funny shit.
That's funny.
Where you're just like, oh, yeah.
We're all family, right?
And
Like,
sometimes you don't know. It's like you show up,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
either the manager messed up or like you're the sub. It's like.
There's a great story actually that Jochen told me. He was on the road with Kurt, and then they got to the airport, and it's like, yeah, you have the ticket for Rupert? And they're like, no. And they're like, Ballard? No. Harlan? It was like 15 people, and it turns out like they just forgot to book a ticket, but it was just like who else? Green? Yeah, it was just like
Who did I call?
just so many potential suspects, and they were like, let me just see. Yeah.
It's cool in a way because we're all family. Like, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the whole scene is like, yeah, of course we're all,
It's incestuous.
It's what the community is. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh my God, like, some bands are more bands, but
Right.
for the jazz scene, like, we're just a community, and it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
cool to be like, oh, cool, I'm subbing for Mike. Mike's the man, or whoever. You know?
It's not
But-
the Beatles and the Stones.
Yeah, it's not
just
like-
it changes like.
George Harrison checks
Yeah,
into
I
his
feel like
podcast,
it's always.
Moreno?
I feel like it's the best thing for everyone. It's like, yeah, no one like gets super, like I feel like if there was not Lage or Gilad or Near, like I would feel like, oh, like I'm fucking, all of a sudden I can do everything or something like that. Or no, but it's like knowing that you guys are fucking here. It's like I will pick up the guitar and shed like every day. Like
For
I
sure,
got,
for
it's
sure,
like,
yeah.
Man, these guys are out there killing it. Like it's like, oh, he's played this gig, and now I have to play it. Shit, I gotta get my stuff together. I gotta look at this
Yeah.
music. I gotta like.
It's my favorite
Yeah.
thing about New York.
Yeah.
Just like. And it's not a competitive thing. It's not like I'm gonna fucking.
No, it's
You
not
got-
that.
you
No,
know.
it's not-
But it's just like I know that you're like and I hear it's like shit, something's happened since last time. Like okay, like so yeah, just to have, that's the bar. Like that's where it is, and it's not a specific thing like I want to replicate but it's just like everyone is so dedicated, and that's inspiring.
I feel
and
like
you
if we
hear-
all
you can see
sounded
it.
similar, it would be one thing. But it's like no one, like everybody's so different. That's the reason why it's like yeah, let's talk and see like how everybody's like thinking about things, because everyone here sounds so fucking different. It's crazy, like, but it could work. Like we could all do the same gig, and it would work, but it would all be 4 different gigs.
And I think we share a lot of influences too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so it's not like, if you listen to someone, you're just gonna sound like them. No, it's like we've been listening to the same stuff, but you take different stuff out of it. You know.
Right.
So how does it feel to be away from New York in that sense?
It's so hard to say just because of
COVID,
the whole shutdown thing. But I mean, obviously that part is not there. You know, like and yeah, like that sense of community and like, you know, like I mean I can hear guys on records and stuff like that, but not the same, like, oh, I just did a gig and then you're playing after and we're hanging, you know, and I definitely miss that for sure. But I've also had it for a very long time. Like I know, you know, and it's not like a surprise. Like I knew it was gonna be like that, you know. And I'm sure, you know, when you took the year off too, it's just like, it's just doing something different for a while. But looking back on New York, like that's by far one of my very favorite things about it. Is just like, like I you know, like you can't make the gig or I can't make the, you know, like, and then now you're doing it and then I'll hear it, you know, some recording of it or like see it on YouTube and I'm like, oh man, that's really cool. And like, there's a mutual feeling here of like everybody's trying to progress and not be stuck, but like take their shit to the next level. There's like energy that each person produces and also elevates everybody else's energy in that sense. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just like I said, like hearing you every once in a while and be like, oh shit, oh there's some new, like something's happening and it's developing. I'm like, I gotta make sure. I can't just sit here. And like,
right.
I'm good. I'm gonna stay here. You know, like
it reminds you to keep it all about the music. You know what I mean? Because you know, life comes. You know, life's important too. But like everybody here is just like so connected. You know, so just hearing someone play like that, I'm just like, oh yeah, I love music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? And I love guitar. I love the guitar. You know. I think for like a lot, we're all teaching a bit now, right? Like whether it's at a school or whatever, and like it's nice to see that the students that do this, that like hang with each other and play together, they always sound the best, you know, because they're connected.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and there's this. It's funny. I think about it. I was like, man, I hope these students are doing the same thing that we did. You know, where it's like, you know, there was when you think somebody is sounding sad, you don't be like, you suck, and you stay over there. Where it's like, you suck, but you need to fucking come over here and like,
dude,
let's hang.
I love that story about Stefan Schultz. That's so
Stefan
cool,
was
man.
like, man, when I think about it, he could have just been like, I'm the baddest dude at this high school. Because you got to think about how young people were and how mentality works at that young age. He could have just been, I'm the baddest motherfucker here, and I'm going to vibe everybody. But he was like, I'm going to tell you suck, but I'm going to try to help you get better. Because you need to get better. Because I want you to get better. Yeah. He would never have said, like, come to my house, play my guitars and listen to my records and, like, let's hang. Unless he wanted me to get better. But, you know, and then once he saw that, he was like, oh, shit. Yeah. He's like, you're sounding... Like, I remember, like, one time we were playing, and he was like... And he looked at and there was a bass player there. He looked at his friend, and he was like, he sucked, like, 3 months ago, but now he's, like, sounding okay. Like, and they were just like, wow, I don't know what happened with this. You know, it happens fast, you know. It's like, but he was like... And just to think about that, like, I hope, like... You know, the younger generation is doing that, you know, for their friends. It's like, man, just because somebody is sad today. And I tell students all the time, I was like, the best guy in your class now is not going to be the best guy in your class 6 years from now. It might be that dude that no one's, or whatever, lady who's no one's thinking about at the moment. Because they're silently watching everybody and learning, like, slowly, and then they're just going to, like, while no one's watching, they're just like, pfft, they'll pass you up because everyone gets comfortable and like stops working as hard as the other person behind them. And it's like, yeah, at that age, it's like from 15 to like 25 or whatever. Like there's so much stuff that can happen in that 10 years. It's crazy. But anyway.
I hope it could still happen. I hope that like we can all just like have a burst and be like 20 times better next month.
Nah, bro, it's all over for us.
Well, I think about people like Bill Frazelle. You know, like if you listen to Bill Frazelle, like in the 80s, It's nothing like Bill Frazelle
Right.
in the
And
90s.
how old was he in the 80s? Like in his 40s, early 40s?
No, he was in his mid-30s.
Mid
In the
30s.
80s, I think, because he was born in the late 50s, I think.
Okay.
He's around the same age as Mike Stern.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's like in the upper 60s.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. Also, Gonzalo is like that too.
Oh,
Like
man,
the,
yeah.
the change that he went
Oh,
through. And
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, like the early stuff is just great. It's just like fireworks, and then all of a sudden it's like,
Subtlety, king of subtlety.
Turns out I have the best touch out of everyone in the world. Let me just hold the note for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's some guys like Frazelle who are kind of like late bloomers. And then there's like
he's
Dini, who
young,
was like,
too.
I mean,
I like
19 years
his
old.
first, but even his first record, he's you know, like late 20s or maybe 30 already. But, yeah.
But it's just very different sounding.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
what
no,
it
it
is today.
keeps evolving for sure.
Even Schofield, like in the early 80s.
Totally.
Like, you listen to those records,
Man.
like, wow, that's Schofield.
Sko to me is an example of somebody who like just keeps getting better. Like I
No,
never heard a record of Sko and be like, oh, I wish he played the shit that he played in the old record.
Right,
like
right.
that was better.
Have you ever played next to Schofield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. No.
With, like,
I have.
you have?
Yeah.
Have you
Oh
ever
yeah,
played
I
next to
have
Schofield?
actually. Yeah, that's right. Katona and that
Yeah,
series.
the museum. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That museum gig
Yeah.
where I played there with Gretchen, and Schofield was like, "Hey, is it? You know, I'm gonna sit in on the last couple of tunes because he basically books the gig."
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Of course, man! Like, play." And yeah, we played 2 tunes of Rhythm Changes, and then we played "I Fall in Love Too Easily." So, of up tempo Rhythm Changes, Burnout tune, and a ballad.
Right.
And both of them, he just literally plugged into the amp through like a reverb rack thing, which was like a lexicon thing, I think, and just turned the amp up, and it was just like, just like, I felt like someone was like, oh, yeah, you're here. It was the most like, it wasn't like humiliating, but it was like, that's a bad motherfucker.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
that is the real shit.
Absolutely.
Someone who is like, can just play a note, and it's just like, they can kill you with a note.
Right.
We just
Doesn't
did a,
matter what you played before.
Man. Yeah, he just played a solo 30-minute set in that guitar summit, the alternative guitar summit that I did, and all of us were like, we could not believe what we just heard. He was just playing solo, and
I love his solo playing.
man, we were transported to outer space. It was like, whoa!
Yeah, it's
I didn't remember. It was so good that at the end of it, I didn't remember anything I just heard. It was like, okay, this was an experience, almost like going on a roller coaster or something.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this just happened now it's done.
There's something like, to me, like Sko and Pete too, like Pete Bernstein, I've just never heard him have a bad gig. You know what I mean? It's just like, and Sko in particular has this like feel like it's just fun. Like you go to the gig and it's just like, man, this just to have a drink. Like it just this is so like this just feels good.
it's
Like,
enjoyable to
it
listen
just,
to them.
yeah, it's not just like, oh, it's what's he doing on the minor 7/5. You know, it's just like, oh, this just feels great. You know, and but yeah, both of them, it's just like, how do you never fuck up? Like, or if you do, I would never know.
Right.
You know, like
It's
if you
kind of
would.
like with the classical cats, like when they play a piece, they never make a mistake. And improvisation is different, but those dudes, to get to that level of like, you always just sound good. It's pretty cool.
It's just sound. Like, I feel like with Skull in particular, it's just the groove, like the groove of what he's playing and the sound.
Yeah.
It's like, but it didn't start. Like, if you listen to him in the 80s,
No,
like, it's like that
It
progression
got better
of
and better,
like,
yeah.
it's just like, wow, wherever he is, it's at the best of where he's ever
Totally,
been.
exactly.
And the 80s stuff is killing too.
Yeah.
Just different killing.
But I feel like, and with some guys, like you get to that point where you can just play 3 notes and like that surpasses like all of the music theory that people get obsessed with, and you know, like, what am I going to play on the changes and like all this stuff. It's just tone and groove. Yeah, it's so killing.
And like projection of energy.
Yeah. And connection, like.
Super connected.
Yeah. So how you feel like now in your
A little tired.
a little tired.
Oh no.
No. I just mean like
Feeling
we. I mean,
Feel pretty good.
like what stuff? What kind of conscious choices have you made to like get to where you're at the moment? Like, you know, because we could. I'm sure if you wanted to, you can go in any direction, the same as you and Near. It's like, but we've all decided to kind of like, I'm going to do this with my playing, and where you've discovered your voice, you discovered what you feel like you have a strong point in, and you've decided to develop that and focus on that rather than, and then you're just like the other shit, I can just like, I'm not going to worry so much about that. But I guess what I'm asking is like developing your voice. Like what kind of process were you going through or thinking about where you're deciding to focus on certain things to bring out in your own playing, and kind of letting go of like some other things, like where you might feel like, well, maybe this guy does this and he got, you know, like I'm really into that, but I don't need to do that. I'm going to do what I do. It might be a random question, but like it's just like that process of getting to where, you know, the reason why you sound like you and the reason like you sound like you and the reason why you sound like you, but you know, how do you get to that and let go of the other stuff?
Me?
Yeah. Whatever. We can say, I'm looking at you because you're right next to me.
I'll start. I mean, I honestly don't think about that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to think about it, and
or is it just natural at this point? It's just like I don't even.
It's kind of just like, well, this seems to keep wanting to come out, and
right.
and like, but I used to. The only time I can remember like really thinking about that was basically in college, where like there was a couple of years where I strongly believed like there's no reason to play to not sound like George Benson,
right?
You know, so there's nothing better than that. So if it doesn't sound like that, then which is weird because I sound nothing like it now. You know
what I'm thinking about. Someone told me once that you used to, and I used to do the same thing. So it's not like I'm judging you or anything. But do you remember that guy Mark Elf?
Yes.
And someone was saying like that you used to transcribe some Mark Elf stuff. And I used to listen to those records.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I probably did. I mean, basically when I got to Berkeley, it was just like.
Do you know that?
I don't know much about him. He's like a bebop dude. I don't know much about him.
Yeah, he was basically like. I haven't heard those records, but he was basically just like. So much information, you know, like
exactly. But it's information. It might be also bebop information, but it's like there were certain guys that I checked out that helped me get information, like how bebop works on the guitar. But then after I learned, I
summary
checked it out.
of.
Yeah, I
it's
was
kinda,
like,
instead of going Charlie Parker and.
But I was like, this is not
like
what I want to
Cliff
do.
Notes. Yeah.
So then I made a conscious choice of like, okay, that. What he's doing, it makes sense on the guitar, but it doesn't make sense. For me, it was like, how can I get past this and make this like really musical on a broad spectrum beyond the guitar?
Yeah, I checked out everybody, and I think on the way, like you there's some people like for a while I was like, oh, that's really cool or like helpful. I remember like randomly just remember like hanging with Lionel one time at Berkeley. At his place, and he had all these like Joe Diorio records, which I don't, you know, like I heard the names like, I was like, oh, that's my fucking guy, you know, it's like, oh shit, no idea, you know, but I don't know if he would say that now, but sometimes you find something that's like, oh, I was looking for that, or I needed that right now, but he was just something, or someone that when I got to Berkeley, I just realized like I don't know anything. You know, like there's so many records, so many people, and like, but he seems to. There's a lot of it coming out from there. But anyway, back to your original question. Like, I think less, not so much like, oh, how can I sound like myself, whatever that is, to like figure out my thing. It's just like allowing it to happen, being like that. That doesn't sound like what I'm hoping. So let's get rid of that. You know, it's just like it's just. Yeah,
it's personal taste, right?
It's kind of I mean. To me, I mean, it's a very tired metaphor, but it's like language, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like we all share the same words, but we sound different, and we say things in a different way, and it's natural, you know? So I guess just trying to make your playing as natural as possible.
But you checked out everything. Kind of
I checked out everything and everybody. Yeah.
I transcribed, man, I used to check out Barney Kessel, Joe Pass, Wes Montgomery, Charlie Christian, Pat Metheny, Pat Martino, Schofield, Jim Hall. Like, I transcribed like everybody, just kind of like, it's like, I relate it, like I talk to people, sometimes students, I was like, I say like, it's like going into a shop and you're trying on clothes. Like, let me see what this shirt looks like on me, let me see what these pants and
Who do you
shoes.
think really stuck with you? Like,
oh man, Pat Martino was like kind of the first person that was like, I transcribed was I was like, I can see how bebop can work on the guitar, and also Joe Pass. And
Pat was one for me. Martino.
Martino, both Pats for me.
And then Pat Metheny. I love the kind of legato, kind of fluidity that he was having, and how he can blend with basically any style of music.
And I think maybe we share this because like one of the first records I can remember like buying, like I'm gonna get like a jazz record, was Joshua Redman Wish.
Yes, yeah.
And I think to this, like that informs so much of my whole aesthetic and playing. Yeah.
That was a recommendation from a teacher I was studying with at the time.
But it's Pat, Charlie Hayden, and Billy Higgins. And it's just like the sound of that, like guitars sounding like that in a quartet, you know, like without piano. I think just like really that formed my whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah, so Pat Metheny, on that particular record, Pat Martino, El Hombre, the Just Friends
The Just Friends is
Let's forget about the rest of the record. Like, honestly.
I don't know that.
Like,
Which record is that?
El Hombre.
By whom?
Pat Martino.
Oh, that's his record.
El Hombre, Pat Martino, that solo on Just Friends was like,
and once
when I transcribed that solo, and I was like, I can sort of start to understand how bebop works on the guitar. That was like the first one. And also some Joe Pass stuff. And I used to learn verbatim some Wes Montgomery stuff. I feel like Wes, if you just learn his tunes, you kind of get, you can start to understand how jazz works on the guitar. And at first, because all his voicings and the rhythm and the melody is there. It's arrangement. It's like, if you would listen to Wes, he almost plays the same thing during the melody every time. So if you just learn exactly what he plays, you can kind of sort of make the guitar sound justifiably whatever, you know, jazz, traditional or whatever. So I learned a lot of that stuff and some of the solos, like, you know, the chord solos and the octaves and all that stuff. But that was like the first stuff that got me into it.
The sound of Wes, like it's just like, I mean, it's something, but just like in the phrasing, the sound is just unparalleled. Yeah, I mean, boss guitar, like.
Yeah, and Smoking at the half note.
Smoking at the half note was like the one, for me. And also I had this compilation where it was like a lot of big band stuff that I guess Quincy Jones arranged.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, Oliver Nelson though, did a lot of them too.
Oh yeah, Oliver Nelson, yeah. And I actually might be getting confused. Maybe it's the Oliver Nelson stuff.
Like the Out of My Head and stuff.
Well, the one I'm thinking of is I can't remember the names of the tunes.
There's like one with West
Sundown and the Thumb and like all that kind of stuff and West Coast Blues.
West Coast
Blues.
I know.
Yeah, a lot of that was Oliver Nelson. Yeah, I never went through like a big guitar phase like that except for Wes and John McLaughlin when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Those were my two main guys, and then Kenny Burrell and Grant Green.
Yeah, Grant Green was another one.
Yeah.
Because it like took the guitar into the modal world where it wasn't there before. Like who else was really in there? Like playing with the Blue Note Cats. No one.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I was like, oh, this is guitar like on Blue Note records. Like this is how it works if it's not a funk.
Right.
Like there's not an organ and there's not a funk or like a boogaloo groove.
Yeah.
You know, they're swinging and there's a guitar. Like, wow.
Yeah,
fuck,
and
I didn't know that
his
happen.
tone is like so special.
Yeah.
The phrasing is
And I remember when I heard Peter Bernstein for the first time, I was like, this cat is really into Grant. And when I met him, I was like, who are you checking out? He was like, Grant. Or I was like, who influenced you? He was like, I love Grant Green. I was like, I can hear it. Like, you know, it's like so in your playing.
Yeah, Pete was the first like newer. Like I was a hardbop head, so I was like, you know, Wes, Grant, Kenny Burrell.
Right.
In terms of like jazz guitar.
Yeah.
And then the first and kind of like the main guy that I got into after that was, besides Amos Hoffman, who was my teacher back in Israel, was Pete Bernstein.
Yeah.
And he carries a lot of that history with him too. It's all in his playing too. So it's, but yeah, I kind of skipped like all those names you guys mentioned, which is not a good thing. I need to go back and check that out. But
or not.
Yeah, I never got into like too much guitar. I remember at some point like some of my teachers and also my friends were like, you know, kind of hipping me to other instruments, and then I was like obsessing about other instrumentalists.
Yeah.
So I skipped a lot of the
No,
guitar
I went
stuff.
there pretty quick also. It was just like, there was a short period of time where I was just like really in, like I was like, I want to figure out how I can play this style of music on the guitar.
Mm.
And then once I heard a lot of that, I was like, well, this other music that has no guitar in it makes me feel something that I like more.
Yeah.
I like Wayne and I like Herbie and I like all these Miles records, but there's no guitar in it. But I like that more than I like this stuff. And
Exactly.
So I was
That's
listening
how
to
I felt
so much
too.
more music than.
And then when I got to New York, actually, something that I had to kind of go through is like teaching myself how to also like play like some guitar players, because I felt like I wasn't doing the gig as people expect me to do.
Right.
So I kind of had to learn how to play the guitar more guitaristically.
Yeah.
Man, I was wondering, Gilad, because you know Barry Harris just died today, and like all the a lot of the Israeli guys I know specifically, and you were asking about Israel earlier, like they all kind of either studied with Barry Harris at one point or studied with someone who studied with him.
So Amit Golan, who I mentioned earlier, the jazz history teacher in my high school, he started with him. But then when I was in New York, I also took some. When I was first in New York, like when I was 18, I went to some of those classes, and then I went to one class after I came back to town. But not enough. But all those classes, they're like burned into my memory. Like there's like, and I would go to he had 3 classes, one for a piano player, one for vocalist, and one for all instruments. And I would just go for the whole thing. It's like 6 hours. And some of those songs that he would teach in the vocal classes, like they just like burned into my brain. I remember he taught that one that you play actually, A Time for Love.
Yeah.
I remember him teaching that in one of the classes.
Oh, wow.
And man, that song still has like this emotional, you know, thing.
That's a beautiful tune. Man.
Yeah,
I love that tune.
I still go on YouTube all the time to find like Barry Harris
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
just
the
because
best.
it's just like every time it's like, oh man, that's it. Like it's just.
Yeah. I would go here and play at the Vanguard, but I never went to the classes, and of course I kind of
never
knew
went
it.
to the
I knew that I was going to regret it.
I think we all
my
got
piece
that
with it.
message like right before we started the stream.
Yeah.
Like it was like somebody sent me a message like, man, Barry Harris just died.
Yeah.
And but to this day, that's one of my most memorable times at the Vanguard. It's just like when you hear that shit live, it's like nobody plays like that anymore. Like nobody has that much specific like the harmony is just like every choice is like there's a reason behind everything.
I just find it so interesting that it seems like he almost like started the jazz scene in Israel, because like some dudes that studied with him came and brought it back, and I think that's what Osnoy told me, at least, that like he started finding out about jazz because one dude had gone to New York and lived for a little while here and studied with Barry Harris, and he brought it back to Israel and started teaching some other cats, and it just kind of spread like that, but just started with like one dude.
Yeah,
you know?
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
You want to try the Courtois?
yeah,
Yeah.
let's open it. And
Let's
maybe do you want to? Maybe we can pull out some guitars.
Still
it.
busy.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to play a couple of videos for you guys. One is with Nir and one is with Gilad from the live streams that we did earlier this year. Or no, actually they were both live.
There it is. There it is.
You okay,
I
Lage?
was holding that for like, how long is that, 5 hours?
So I'm going to play a video of me and Nir, and then a video of me and Gilad from the House Guest live stream series, the last season. So yeah, we're going to take a brief pause while we resituate the situation here, and we're going to play some music maybe, or just like talk about guitar and like with the guitars in our hands. So if you can, stick around, and we'll see you in a bit. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Nice.
Welcome to the crib. Along Came Betty by Benny Golson. We're going to follow that up with... What did we say we were going to follow that up with? We forgot. Oh, straight. Is that good?
Totally.
like button for that's the new. I can't really say put your hands together. Put your likes together. Get your likes together for Gilad Hekselman on the guitar.
Put your donations together to Mac Moreno.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, dude. Fantastic. Okay. above my amp, so I hope I'm not too loud. Sounds good.
All right. What's up, everyone? We're back. We're going to do a little bit of playing for you. Yeah. Let's see what happens. So, thanks for everyone who's been sticking around, and if you're watching this afterwards, then yeah. You're listening to Gilad Hekselman near Felder and Lage Lund. Yeah. So we're going to play a tune for you called All or Nothing at All. Let's play a melody.
Yeah.
I can play the A section.
You the host. You're the host.
I'm the host. I mean, if I knew her. Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Is that my tune?
That's your tune. You wrote that back in
Back in college, yeah.
Senior recital.
Yeah.
Which one? Fall in love or something else?
Yeah.
Should we do like a more swinging one, maybe? Like a faster one, maybe?
We could do that. Yeah, yeah.
Or like rhythm chains or sort of?
Yeah, it could be a rhythm chase. Maybe something we could all play together.
Yeah.
What do you like?
Do you guys know Show Enough?
I know that tune. Yeah.
Should we do that one?
I don't know. The intro might be a little bit rough, but
Yeah, maybe I don't know. That's just a head that we could all do, but maybe we could do a simple one.
it could be like anthropology or what was the other one? Moose the Mooch.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna play that in unison, but I can play the bass note.
What do you think? Lage?
I'm calling out to my brain, it's just not
Okay.
responding.
Yeah. Well, two people know the melody. We can do it.
Yeah.
Which one?
Moose?
Moose? Okay.
You know Moose?
No.
Oh.
I mean, I do, but I don't have it on my
I'm better on
fingers.
Show Enough.
Do you know that one?
No, I mean, I know it by ear, but I
Oh, okay.
don't play
Do
it.
you not?
I know that tune. Yeah. You want to do that?
Let's try it.
Woo. Okay. Here's the test.
Oh, no.
Is that cool? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
that real quick.
Yeah. Killing you. Thank you, everyone. This is Lage Lund on the guitar. Dear Felder on the guitar. Gilad Hekselman on the guitar. So thank
Mike
you.
Moreno.
Yeah,
Mike.
This is my house.
Yeah.
By house, I mean apartment in Brooklyn. So thank you for tuning in. This has been super fun and like a kind of once in a lifetime experience. I have all you guys here and hang. I mean, we see each other every now and then. Like maybe in a blue moon, we might all be in the same place at one time, playing a gig somewhere like a festival. But this was kind of planned, and so yeah. Thank you for being here and watching. And if you like, you can support this stream and support tonight because these guys are here just out of their willingness to be here. But I would also like to be able to contribute to their lifestyles.
Fancy lifestyle.
Yeah. And everybody needs a new pedal at all times. So if you'd like to contribute to tonight,
Your pedals.
pedals, you can hear what Gilad's going to play the next time, or Lage. So you can do that with the links that are in the description or the codes that we're going to put up. There's a Venmo code. You can send that to me, which I will say I'm going to get to the guys, but it's all trust. And PayPal also. If you are international, you can use PayPal, and so that's the code for PayPal. But also the links are in the description, so you can just click on those as well. And there's going to be a lot more next year. Of course, Lage is going to be in and out of town, so we were planning to do something as well, just to stream us too. And yeah, all these guys will be back again, Nir and Gilad. And this is I guess now the present. It was the future during COVID, but now that I have all the stuff, I want to do kind of more stuff like this. So it would be fun to have you involved and all these guys involved. And yeah, it's kind of, I want to do stuff that you wouldn't hear normally. So when the hell are we ever going to get together and play
Tomorrow,
a
right?
tune? Well, yeah, I mean, other than
I can
tomorrow.
make it, but I'm sending a sub.
Oh, okay.
Super
Yeah.
good.
You got, I know who you're saying. And then, so, yeah, anyway, I want to try to do stuff that this is out of the ordinary. And so, if you would like to hear more, please help that happen. And like all of this stuff that I have now is completely thanks to everyone who was contributing to all the live streams before. And without that, this would definitely not be possible. So I thank you all for the first season and the support, and that helped make what's happening tonight happen. So we'll see you soon, and yeah. Well,
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, man.
thank you guys. Thank you. Oh. Yeah.
Yo,